And we are live. Okay, welcome to Kansatsu. Kansatsu means to observe in Japanese. This is a minimal observability dashboard. What we're going to be looking at here is general stats, total monitored calls, total errors, average interaction time with the system, the LLM usage, the prompt tokens, completion tokens, and total tokens, and then average user quality score. This basically, after every interaction, the user is going to rate the system's response on a scale of 1 to 5, and over time of the interaction, it will average that score and then raise any alerts if any sensitive information is leaked, and then a graph of the live method activity, and then a final summary table. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to use a physiology assistant. Um, okay, so this physiology assistant, right? Um, it basically uses a JSON tool schema, which allows the LLM to interact with tools that we have created. What the two tools that we have created are two calculators. One is for calculating the whole blood oxygen. The other is for calculating shunt. So the way the token count gets recorded here is after each complete interaction when the user asks their next query or puts in the next information, then it'll record the token count for that previous interaction. That's how the current setup is. There are a lot of modifications to be made. That said, let's say I want to know more. Let's say I want to calculate. I want to calculate total body O2, right? Okay, it understood that it wants to calculate the total body oxygen. It says I can help with that. I'm gonna rate it 5 for being helpful. Okay, so now let's just look at initially what is recorded, right? We have made two monitored calls, right? We have two methods that have been activated basically. Understand and extract, right? It took my query, understood that I want to calculate, and extracted my intent, right? It understood I want to calculate total body oxygen. And then there's a chat for keeping track of basically the conversation flow, right? Average interaction time with the system was this many milliseconds, or actually it would be what 1.5 seconds. And token usage, right? So we had 336 prompt tokens. We had 20 completion tokens for a total of 356 tokens. So this is just basically giving you an initial read of the usage. Now going back to our system, right? So the concentration of hemoglobin, let's just say is 14. Units are already there. What I wanted to explain earlier, should I explain earlier, is that the units are already set, so we just need to put in the numbers to do the calculation. Okay, so now it's asking me for the saturated oxygen. I'm just going to rate, um, since it's asking me for the next one each time, I'm going to rate it 5. Let's just say I give it a 4, actually. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's give it a 4. Let's just see, because we want to see how it changes, right? So we can see it averaged already the score live. Um, Now we have an average of 4.5. So let's say the saturation of oxygen, right? Let's say it is at 97% saturation. Okay, I'll give it a 5. And the partial pressure of oxygen, it's 100 mmHg, right? So now it calculates the result for the basically for the total blood oxygen. Now, if we go back here, we're able to see all the traces. This is actually in OpenTelemetry format, and you can integrate, you can make modifications and integrate with any cloud native architecture. Okay, so if we go all the way up, right, over here, blood oxygen content, the blood oxygen concentration is in milliliters per 100 ml, right? And so it is 18.5 milliliters per 100 ml, right? The calculation is correct. I've done this calculation before, so I'm going to give it a 5. Okay, for my next query, right, I'm going to ask help me calc shunt. Okay, so now it knows I want to calculate shunt, right? So like it can help me with that and ask me for the capillary auto concentration. Let's say I'm just going to give it 4, just to see how the value changes, right? Okay, so now I need to get the capillary auto concentration. I'm going to say 20 arterial auto concentration. Let me rate the response first. I'm going to say 14, and then the venous auto concentration, right? I'm going to say 16. So the result shunt is 1.5, right? Again, I did this calculation, so I know that this is correct again, and also it's using my JSON tool schema to return those values, and I have definitions for the equations themselves. Okay, so now I have already sensitive information. Okay, so now let's see what we have recorded here. We have recorded the total number of calls, average interaction time, prompt tokens, right? Each time we use 336 prompt tokens, we have our completion tokens, and we have total tokens, right? Here we go. User response, and we grabbed um, the alerts, right? We found credit card information, date of birth, SSN, email, phone number, person name, right? So if we go back here, and it even tells us it can only help with these things. So it does not uh, kind of do anything with that sensitive information, right? But we can see here we have name, birthday, phone number, email, social, and credit card number, right? So we have 6 pieces of PII there. We have the token consumption here. We have the tokens recorded, right, for the previous interactions. These are the token consumption for when I wanted to calculate the total body oxygen and calculate the um, the shunt, right? Okay, so we can use this total, right? We subtract it out from this total. We know that each prompt is 336 tokens, right? And then we have our completion tokens, right? So we're able to also calculate the token consumption here, right? We have our activity for the chat, right? We have 4 calls that were made, right? We are recording this for along the each time, way of the time, right? So first one, we have our initial input, concentration of hemoglobin, saturation of oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen, right? Then we have our request to calculate the shunt. We have our capillary, arterial, and venous oxygen concentrations, right? And then we have our final chat interaction where we just provided the bulk of sensitive information, right? Okay, so our main token consumption, our main token usage, as we see here, right, where we don't see in the other graphs, is for the understand and extract because that's where we put our initial query, right? And all these other, the reason we don't see other token consumption here is because this is mainly for the calculation, right? This is basically the tool usage now, right? This is using the calculators that we have built. These are other functions that we're calling, right? Okay, so now if I go back here, right? Okay, let's say I'll just rate this a 1 because it was it didn't do anything with it. And let's exit, right? Okay, now I'll exit, and then after I exit, I get my final summary table, right? I get how many calls I made, right, for understand and extract. I did 3 calls to understand and extract. One was for the total body oxygen, for the shunt, and then for the sensitive information. This is the average interaction time. the total tokens used and the average tokens per interaction effectively, or per this call, sorry. And then for chat, I had 9 calls made, right? The average time. And then we can see the average time with the chat and the understand and extract was longer because that's how I interact with the system, how long it take to give a response back to me, right? All this is recorded over here. We have timestamps, we have alerts raised. All these are in these OpenTelemetry logs that we have here. And we have our 2 calculators that were used. The calculation done was very quick, as we can see here, right? There was no tokens used, right? So this is effectively what this minimal dashboard can do for you. Thank you.